Hey there, and welcome to my, season 1 review of the show Cobra Kai. And I figured since season 5 just came out on Netflix that it's time for me to talk about this show because after 5 seasons, it obviously has a fan base and a following. And a quick breakdown, when Cobra Kai was first announced back in, 2017, it came out in 2018 to YouTube Red. And I'm like, yeah, right, okay. You brought back Ralph Macchio, which, let's be honest, besides like My Cousin Vinny, I didn't see him do anything, and the guy who played Johnny didn't even know his name, and it's like, okay. William Zabka! Two, like, washed-up has-been actors, 34 years after The Karate Kid, and it's going to YouTube Red, like, yeah, right, I'm gonna watch this bullshit. Now, after the first 2 seasons came out, I was hearing mixed things about this, and finally, it hit Netflix, and well, much like the show Lucifer, sometimes a show is dying or just it changes companies and then it starts getting like, a lot of traction. This is also why some people would say the show Ash vs. Evil Dead, which I will get to at some point, was fucking fantastic, but like,
no one's watching.
Whoever fucking bought Stars, right? Whoever cared. Going to Netflix sometimes, not always, but sometimes can save a show. So eventually I sat down and I watched, the first 3 seasons since Netflix just put season 3 out with season 1 and 2. And wanted to give my opinion about this show. That's 34 years after the first Karate Kid, and I was 3 years old, and holy fuck, I'm old.
Ripley from Alien 3.
Fuck, you're old.
So sit back, have a drink and some popcorn or whatever, and let me just tell you about season 1 of Cobra Kai. Is it worth watching? Does it live up to the hype? Should you check it out? How do I feel about it? And yeah, enjoy the intro. So, episode 1 starts off with, well, the tournament from the first Karate Kid, and if, you've been, I guess it's, at this point should be pop culture knowledge, the infamous crane kick, and you've seen it, and even if you don't watch the movies, you still know about the whole crane kick to the face, and yeah, it starts off with that, so, okay, some nostalgia.
People underestimate the power of nostalgia.
Now we have Johnny Lawrence. He's passed out in his bed, looks terrible, there's food everywhere, his alarm goes off, he wakes up, and he looks like shit. He's unshaven and drinking half of a friggin' beer, and
God, why am I such a loser?
To say the least, I can relate. No, let's see. He wakes up, he's eating fried bologna with ketchup. He doesn't even have a high-def TV, an old box TV, and watching just 80s movies. And, yeah, just sitting there reliving the old glory days, and, holy shit.
We're basically the same.
Johnny's leaving his crappy apartment, and here comes this kid named Miguel, which later on, he will play an important part in this series. But Miguel is talking to Johnny about water pressure and wants to get to know him. Johnny is anything but PC. He tells Miguel, kid, leave me alone. Not another immigrant family, and we're not immigrants. We live here. We just moved and stuff, you douchebag, but
my family and I just moved into 109.
Great, more immigrants.
Actually, we're from Riverside.
Now Johnny gets into his old crappy red Pontiac Thunderbird, and he's listening to Poison because he's stuck in the 80s like a lot of us still are. But as he approaches a red light, he looks up and sees a billboard, and look, there's little old Danny LaRusso and Danny from the Karate Kid films. But apparently he has a car dealership, and Johnny's just like, yeah, another friggin' reminder of like how my life has gone wrong and this guy's got a great fucking life. So as a blue collar worker, an idiot just like Johnny, I understand the next sequence of what he's going through. He's doing odd jobs, handyman things. He's cleaning out gutters and roofs and pulling out dead rats. He's doing electrical equipment that honestly he doesn't seem to be qualified for, but he needs the money.
I'm not the dummy who put the TV on literally the only wall in the house that a TV would not go.
Why can't a TV go on this?
But he screws up the job and pisses off the woman. He inadvertently calls her a bitch, and guess what? Now he's fired. I mean, it's crappy friggin' laboring work that nobody wants to do, but I can respect it because, yeah, I wake up looking like shit every day and working a job I hate. So, Johnny, have a drink.
Have a drink.
So now Johnny just wants to go home and stop at a local mart and just, get a friggin' crappy slice of dollar pizza. But the guy at the counter is making fun of him in Spanish. Miguel shows up, he's translating, they have some words and we've all been there. But Johnny's outside enjoying his crappy friggin' pizza, talking to a homeless woman, but leave me alone, lady. And then 4 high school kids show up, they start attacking Miguel and being bullies, but Johnny doesn't care because why would he for, But eventually, one of the kids knocked Miguel against Johnny's car. Now Johnny's pissed off, like, hey, leave my car alone. The 4 kids are like, screw you, old man, what are you gonna do? And now, considering the time and also the age of the actor William Zabka, who's in his 50s, and the budget on this show, the choreography is pretty good since a fight breaks out. You can tell Johnny still has some karate moves, but the man is out of shape and out of practice. He damn near hurts himself like doing a spin kick, but he gets the job done and wins a fight. But to say the least, cops show up because there is laws against a man in his 50s beating up 4 teenagers. But you know, we've all been there, and not saying I advocate that, but the little fuckers did have it coming. So have a drink, Johnny. Johnny gets bailed out of jail. By who? We're not sure yet. But as he gets home, guess what? His stepfather, he's there, and he's like, you know what, kid? I'm tired of bailing you out, and I'm not doing this anymore. Here's a friggin' check. I'm just cutting you out of my life. I'm kind of like buying you out. Johnny, with the little like 1% of pride he has left, takes a check and he rips it in half. Like, get out of here, old man. So whatever. But that night, he's sitting home and he's drinking. He's watching Iron Eagle, and one day I will review that movie because Iron Eagle is a fucking classic.
Chappie, where are you? Just put in that tape. That's an order. Nothing you can do about me. Chappie, I want to help.
Well, Johnny's movie is interrupted by a commercial from Danny LaRusso, and he's got, you know, his car dealership stuff and selling bonsai trees and just doing karate moves and just making Johnny that much more upset because it's just a constant reminder of his failures and just how his life is shitty, and Danny has a great life. So what does Johnny do? He freaking gets into his car and he drives around drunk, which I wouldn't advocate, but, you know, for the tone of this show, it's whatever. He's listening to old 80s music, which I know this song and it's Head Games, and we're seeing flashbacks of the first film. And like, you know, some people would say sometimes the villain is the hero of his own story. But in, you know, the tone of this show, in Johnny's mind, you know, Danny was a bad guy because he's getting these flashbacks of Danny with Elizabeth Shue from the first film, and in his mind, you know, friggin' Danny stole his girl and Danny was the bad guy, and it happens sometimes. And okay, now Johnny parks his car and he's just reliving these, again, more scenes and more flashbacks from the first film. But out of nowhere, a bunch of high school girls with their car crash into the friggin' back of Johnny's car. And don't worry, the girl in the back seat later on, she will play an important part in this show. But what happens next? Well, they peel off, they're scared and nervous and stuff, and then Johnny has to call a tow truck. But the tow truck, they want up towing his car to LaRusso's auto dealership, and Johnny's like, oh, I don't want to see Danny at all. So he goes in there, just wants to get his car out, puts on some sunglasses and a hoodie, and just wants to get, you know, his car somewhere else. But as he's leaving, who pops up? Danny, and Daniel's all like, Johnny, how you been, old buddy, and stuff, and we're friends. And, you know, Johnny's just like, we're not friends, I don't like you, but let's get out of here. Now, some people would say that Daniel comes off as brash and kind of a douchebag. I just took it as, like, you know, some old fun and some old ripping. But, you know, Danny is like telling his coworkers like, hey, here's my old rival from high school and stuff. And technically, you know, I won the match and I kicked his face. But Johnny's like, well, you kind of cheated. But no, I didn't cheat, buddy. And there's still tension there that Johnny has from Daniel from 30 years ago.
Listen, it was a really close match. But if you want to get technical, I kicked his face.
But in the end, Daniel's like, you know what, dude? I'll do you a favor. Listen, the past is the past. That was 30 some odd years ago. I've gotten past it. I'm a changed man and stuff. So, you know what? All this body repair and stuff, I'll take care of it for you. Don't worry about it. And Johnny doesn't want his charity, but screw it. So, but you know what? Just seeing Danny kind of like, you know, reignited that flame inside Johnny, because he gets home and Miguel is like, man, I wish you could like teach me these karate moves and stuff and show me how to defend myself. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to. Fuck it. I'm going to be your sensei. And at the end, Johnny goes back into his apartment.
I'm going to teach you the style of karate that was taught to me.
He goes to an old lot and he buys the dojo and reinvents Cobra Kai. Puts some paint on the walls and puts a headband on. And he shaves and puts on a new t-shirt, and guess what? Cobra Kai is back.
And when the time is right.
Okay, that's it. That's the end of episode 1. So, did I like it? Should you watch it? Is it worth watching the rest of the season and the rest of the series? And I'm gonna do spoilers, but I fucking loved it.
You loved it.
I fucking really loved it.
I thought it was fantastic. And like a lot of people out there, and screw it, even let's say the announcement of Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah!
When this was announced, whatever, it's a cheap cash grab. Nobody friggin' wants it. Nobody needs a sequel series or a sequel movie to something that happened 30 years ago. And this is, at least for me, over the past 5 years, the prime example of how you do something and you do it right.
I want to do it the right way.
The first 10 minutes alone shows you everything you need to know about this show and the tone and the setup and the characters. Johnny is a cliche. He's like the modern day Al Bundy. You know, he's a guy that's stuck in the 80s. He's a guy that peaked in high school.
I once scored 4 touchdowns in a single game for Coca.
And after high school, his life went to shit, you know? He's still watching old movies, he's still driving a crappy car, he's still listening to 80s music and shit. And his rival, Daniel LaRusso, he had a friggin' better life, and it happens more often than not. But just in a 30-minute episode, you can unpack so much, and I was thrilled and I loved every second of it. You know, seeing a guy that's older, kind of past his prime, but he's not worthless, you know? He's not Luke Skywalker and shit. You know, these writers actually care about these characters. So at the end, what does Johnny do? He shaves, puts on his gi and his headband, and he's about to just kick ass for like the next 9 episodes.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Well, since I love this show so much and I highly recommend this show, just off episode 1, I'm going to finish the rest of the review, honoring Johnny and how much I like this show, and just, yeah, you know what? It's time for me to do a proper Cobra Kai review. So give me a few minutes, I'm going to change up this bullshit and hope you like it. But if you're ready, 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay, I feel a ton better now, and you know what? I feel and look like a badass, and not really, but I'm trying, so.
Not impressed.
I'm going to finish the rest of this review with some good old Mountain Dew Zero and a brand new bottle of Smirnoff Red, White, and Berry. Why? Because America. Yeah, so now let's dive into the next 9 episodes and what the hell is going on and why you should keep watching, why you should finish this show, and you should. But, okay, the character of Johnny, and let's be honest, this is Johnny's show. You know, Johnny is the main character, and it's his character journey, and I can tell you one thing, and brand new bottle. Johnny is like the older brother I've always wanted, because I'm the only boy in the family, and I can tell you one thing, it's fucking living hell.
My life is a living hell, you guys!
During the next few episodes, Johnny is training Miguel more, and they're slowly building up this father and son kind of surrogate bond. And what is Daniel doing? Daniel doesn't want Cobra Kai around, so he gets hold of the owner for the strip mall, and he finds a way to raise Johnny's rent by double. So, to say the least, Johnny can't afford it because he only has 1 student. And halfway through the season, we get into our first big brawl, and it's this cafeteria scene starring Miguel. And I can tell you one thing, yeah, looking back a second time, the choreography isn't the best and probably could have been done better, but again, guys, this was YouTube Red, and it's pretty awesome for what it is. But Miguel, he's not playing, and he's there to kick ass and chew bubblegum.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
After the whole Miguel cafeteria fight, guess what? It's the days of the internet, and Miguel goes viral. So now Johnny goes to the dojo, and he has an entire friggin' legion of kids who want to learn Cobra Kai and karate. And to say the least, his methods of teaching are pretty unorthodox. They're pretty dangerous sometimes, and I'm sure 9 times out of 10 fucking illegal. But they are worth watching, and they're pretty funny. And just, you know what? I liked every single one of the training montages.
Oh shit!
As to be expected, Johnny's way of teaching is not for all these kids, and he starts losing members left and right because, let's be honest, the guy is a product of his time. You know, he's from the 80s, and he's not politically correct. You know, he doesn't believe in things like peanut allergies and safe spaces, and just says what's on his mind.
No, Lip has something he wants to say. It's all right, speak up, Lip. Or is your tongue messed up too? Are you one of those challenged kids?
The way he's teaching these kids is, you know, it just depends on how you want to look at it, you know? He's not doing it from a place of malice or like ill intent. He just feels like the real world is not fair. The real world people don't play by the fucking rules. The real world people will friggin' bully you, and you have 2 choices. You can sit down and be a pussy, or you can fight back. So he will make fun of you if you have a lip deformity. He'll make fun of you if you're fat. He will make fun of you based on anything. You have 2 choices. Either embrace it and become badass, or feel sorry for yourself and leave Cobra Kai. And that's just his way of teaching.
That was a test. I wanted to see who the quitters are, not you guys. You're in it to win it.
But, you know, with having a cast of kids in a brand new generation, to say the least, not everybody stands out, but some kids stand out. I could do a character breakdown to every single one of these kids. I'm not going to because it just would take too much time, and everybody has a favorite. But for me and a lot of people out there, hands down, my fan favorite was Eli, because Eli has something wrong with him. He's insecure, and Johnny tells him, you can either flip the script or spend the rest of your life feeling sorry for yourself. And what does Eli do? He comes back and he transforms himself into the Hawk. And to say the least, Hawk is, you know, for this entire whole new friggin' cast of kids, easily the standout of season 1. And my favorite in Hawk is a fucking badass.
Nice cut, bro. You see that?
Now we're seeing everything through Johnny's point of view, but as I said, Daniel is just as important to this story because he starts becoming so obsessed with Cobra Kai that he starts messing up things with his wife. He starts messing up the relationships with his daughter and his son. And he's just like, he doesn't want Johnny to like do what Kreese did and have a whole new generation of kids be corrupted by Cobra Kai. And as I've said before, I like little tidbits where you'll see Danny walk into Mr. Miyagi's grave and just the way the music's swelling and just he's so lost in himself and he wishes Mr. Miyagi was there. And every time they show these scenes, they're beautiful.
Makes me wonder, was it different for you or were you just better at hiding it?
Okay, but now onto the finale. What are we here for? What's been the buildup of the past 10 episodes? And through episode 9 in happenstance, basically Daniel finds out that Robbie is Johnny's son. They have kind of an argument, kicks him out, wants nothing to do with him. But now Johnny and Cobra Kai, we're here for the All Valley tournament. And, Robbie joins by himself. He joins unaffiliated, but Cobra Kai is still there. And it's just so much complexity and so much greatness into one episode and just overall awesome writing. Because now you figure Daniel is pissed off at Robbie, but he's still like the Miyagi figure towards him. And Johnny, in a sense, is like Kreese, but not as bad because he still wants to represent Cobra Kai and give these kids, something to be there for. But what he sees is his kids like Hawk and he sees Miguel being overly aggressive towards the other students, almost like how these guys were in the first film. And later on, he sees Miguel almost in a sense cheating and just being over aggressive, just like he was towards Daniel in the first film. And it's just like the complexity of it where when you think about it, right? You have Johnny and Miguel almost like Kreese and Johnny, and now, so it's almost like Miguel is Johnny, and now Robbie is Daniel. It's a really good comedy scene. It doesn't pay off in a sense, but it's still a good throwback to the first film where as Daniel's hurt, Mr. Miyagi does the whole hand clap and rubs it, and, it's not the exact same thing, but it's a funny throwback if you know it.
Medic!
And in the end, Robbie loses, he wasn't the better fighter, and Miguel won. So it's just like, it is a really touching scene seeing Johnny apologize to his son, but Daniel's like, hey, Johnny, you got everything you wanted. You won. Congratulations. And that's the end of the season.
Hoo-wee, what a cliffhanger! Oh!
But there's a post-credit scene, and when the post-credit scene happened, I was just like, holy shit.
That the real story's only just begun.
They brought back the man, the legend, the fucking myth, but Kreese. And considering I had to look up the age of Martin Kove, the man's pushing fucking 70, he looks fantastic. And I'm like, damn, if you're going to end the season, this is how you end the season, on a cliffhanger. And I'm just like, well, hey, have a fucking drink.
That was a fantastic season finale.
And that's it. Cobra Kai Season 1 is over. This is my third time watching the season, and I have no regrets. Every piece of dialogue, every throwback to the first film, the music, and the All Valley tournament, considering, again, it was YouTube Red. You're not expecting like Into the Badlands or Crouching Tiger, but these kids do a very excellent job for what they're given. So I liked it. And I gotta say before I end this, it's just the complexity of the characters and the writing, because episode 9 is fantastic, where you take the character of Johnny and Daniel, and it's the whole cliche of two enemies where they start spending more time together and realize they have more in common than they ever thought they did. And just, it's not about, at least in season 1, good versus evil. It's not bad and good. It's just two different characters with two different outlooks on life.
Good is a point of view, anyway.
And you have to say this, people get stuck in their ways. Johnny is still stuck in the 80s, but in some ways Daniel is as well. And as I said earlier, Daniel is so obsessed with stopping Cobra Kai, he doesn't realize the fact that Johnny, in his own way, he is doing some good. He is being better than Kreese, because the students that he's teaching, these kids are getting friggin' bullied. They're getting beat up and stuff. They have nowhere to go. They want to fit in. Johnny is actually doing some of these kids a good service and making good point and stuff, and just trying to be a good role model in his own strange way.
He is a good man.
It's good to see a new generation and kids that don't take the two older guys and make them totally fucking useless, because this isn't Star Wars and Luke Skywalker.
Take off your glasses.
Cobra Kai, much like Ash vs. Evil Dead, much like Top Gun Maverick. I didn't want it. I didn't expect it. When it was first announced, I'm just like, yeah, right. And holy shit, was I blown away. And I will keep saying this. I'm doing this in 2022. In 5-10 years from now, I think stuff like Cobra Kai will be looked back upon. And this is how you bring something back. And this is how I will constantly say the fact that are certain franchises dead? Are certain IPs dead? Can things be brought back? Yes, they can.
There's always hope.
When you stop worrying about a message, when you stop trying to talk about political pandering, when you stop trying to just, cash stuff in, and you actually give a shit, well, Cobra Kai is what happens. You can do throwbacks to older films, you can bring back legacy characters, you can just, show people as they're getting older, but they're not fucking useless, and maybe they have some older knowledge to teach on to a new generation. That's pretty much it, boys and girls. So, Cobra Kai Season 1, excellent. To me, it's a fucking TV classic.
It's a classic.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, I'm drunk enough where I'm hoping not slur my words, and yeah. So, as always, check out my watch, and yeah, let me edit this video. Probably gonna take me a day or so, but hope you guys like Cobra Kai, and I can't wait to eventually get into seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5, but
I am very busy.
yeah, let me finish this, edit this video, and as usual, pull out Bender, and you know what the deal is. Give me a second.
This calls for a drink.
Some good Smirnoff Mountain Dew, but
I hate my job.
I'm heading back to work.